What's going on, guys? Alex here from PI Paintball, and today we're doing a quick maintenance video on something that is so popular that I probably should have done it before because it's so simple and there's so many of these things out there. It's very much a either one of the first guns you ever played with back in the day, and they're still very popular now for new players, beginning players. They're down on the cheaper end of the spectrum as far as price goes. However, they still work. It's not the greatest thing out there, but honestly, like, you got to look at it really simply. It shoots a paintball. It does the job. If it breaks, they're really easy to fix. The maintenance is so simple. Today, we're looking at Spyders. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to do very basic maintenance. Just show you how to properly maintain it over your time of owning it until you either you had it, paintball was fun for a little while, I'm going to go try something else, paintball's not for me, that kind of thing. Or, maybe you just play so infrequently that this is all you need, just to go mess around with every once in a while. You're completely satisfied with this, and there's no problem at all with that. And then the other thing that might happen is maybe you're getting a little more serious into the sport, you want to pick something up that's a little, like into the electronic range or something like that, and you're looking to get into like tournament paintball or something. You're just you're moving on to like a higher elevation of marker. Until then, you still need to maintenance these just like you need to maintenance a Geo or an LV1 or any high-end gun. This is a brand new Spyder Extra. This is the current model, and what we're going to do is just take it out. You only need a couple drops of oil in a couple places, and these things are really ready to go. They're very simple. So this isn't the exact model Spyder that you might have, but they're all going to be pretty much the same. They're all going to come apart the same. So let's go ahead and start. We're going to go ahead and take the bolt out. It's going to be the pin up top. Pull it up. You'll be able to pull your bolt out. These bolts are made out of Delrin. It's a self-lubricating material, so you really don't need to do anything with that. You can just go ahead and put that aside. And what we need to get at right now is the hammer. So we're going to take this back cap right here and unscrew it. Now this is under spring tension, so just be careful of that. You don't want it flying across the room. There we go. So there's the back cap, and there's the spring. Now there is going to be a bumper in there, so you want to grab like a pen or a pencil or something like that, or an Allen key if you have one. I'm going to use an Allen key, and what you want to do is you'll be able to see it's right here in the end. It's just a big rubber bumper, and just go ahead and there it is. Just pull that thing out. That's what it looks like, just a rubber bumper to kind of brace the parts for shock. And now there is a hammer sitting there. Turn the marker up so you'd be shooting into the sky. Give it a good shake, and your hammer will come right out. So as far as basic, super just to keep the gun going maintenance, there is going to be either a clear or a red O-ring, rubber O-ring. It's actually urethane O-ring, kind of. It's a little bit weird. These are proprietary. Right on the end of the hammer right here, not the end that has the hole, the end that's going to be flat right there. You'll see it. Marker oil. It's either going to come with the marker, or you can come buy from your local paint shop. Marker oil like this. This is Gold Cup oil. This is what I use in here. You can also grab like Exalt Vitamin O or Planet Eclipse marker oil, which I have somewhere. It's all going to be, relatively the same. What you're going to do is you're going to just take your gun oil, which, by the way, I've seen a lot of people use some really weird stuff for lubricating paintball guns. It doesn't all work. This is not the same as actual firearm gun oil. This is a specially branded synthetic oil made for paintball parts. It's made for O-rings. Don't use regular firearm oil. It's not the same. So go ahead and take this oil, and you're just going to want to do a couple drops right on that O-ring. Just kind of make sure it spreads around. Get rid of any excess. And that's basically it. All you got to do is put it back in the gun. So for that, what you're going to do is there's going to be a flat spot that's kind of cut out of the hammer. Keep that towards the bottom. and you're going to keep the little hole right there towards the top. That's what the bolt's going to go into. So keeping that hole directly up, go ahead and put that into the gun. Now if you hold it forward, you're going to run into what you feel is some pressure, and then it's going to stop, and you're not going to be able to push it in anymore. What it's doing is it's hitting the sear. So take the safety off your gun, put a little pressure on it, pull the trigger. You'll feel the hammer will be able to slide right forward. And then if you look down through the top, you'll be able to see that hole that we kept up, so that this pin, when it goes down through the bolt, can connect. So we're going to go ahead, and I like to do the bolt connecting to the hammer before I put the spring in the back cap back in. Just makes it a little bit easier. There's a tendency when you screw in the back cap that it spins the hammer as well, because the spring is putting so much pressure on it. So what we're going to do is put the bolt in. You can put a drop of oil on these bolt O-rings. You don't have to. It's certainly not going to hurt anything. It's just not something that's super necessary. So we're going to go ahead and slide the bolt in, and you kind of just have to kind of remember where that hole is. What you can do is slide it down. When you push down, it won't go down all the way. You'll be able to tell. It's very obvious. Just kind of slide it back and forth until you feel it seat right in that hole. And then if you still have the back cap off, you'll be able to see, if you move the bolt back and forth with the top, you'll be able to see that hammer that's in there moving back and forth. Pretty surefire way to tell that you got it. So what you go ahead and do is, just like when we put the hammer in and you put tension on it and pulled the trigger to make it go forward, we're going to do the same thing again. It needs to be done again. There is a tendency that in the past people have complained that when you do this, the O-ring catches on the sear. I've never had an issue with this. I've never really seen it happen, to be quite honest with you. I've always done this the same way for years and years and years. If you do want to take that extra step and avoid what you think is possibly going to happen to your O-ring, you would need to take the whole frame off the gun, which is these two frame screws down here. You'll let the frame hang so that bolt can move completely free back and forth inside the body. But for me, I'm just going to go ahead, put some light pressure on it, pull the trigger again. That lets the whole assembly go forward. So when we go ahead and put the spring and the back cap and this bumper in, I'm not pressing the spring down to there and trying to screw in the back cap. It's actually nice and open, and it's going to be a little bit easier. I'm going to go ahead and put this this rubber bumper in first. Just make sure it doesn't go sideways. You can leave it sitting right there at the front. The back cap will push it in a little bit more. Go ahead and put the spring in. Make sure you feel it go all the way into the hammer. It'll go in pretty far. There'll only be a little bit sticking out. Back cap, there'll be a guide rod. You want that inside the spring. And just go ahead and screw that into the body. And there we go. The only other thing we're going to do is we're just going to take a couple drops of oil, and we're going to put it in the ASA hole right here, and then we're going to put a tank on it and take a couple shots. What that's going to do is get some oil through the system and get it all into the valve that's in here. It's not a complete replacement for taking the valve out of the gun and changing or maintaining those O-rings and putting some oil on them. But it's definitely a good way to kind of keep it going. It's like on a car, instead of getting, which you need to do an oil change, obviously, on your car. It needs to be a full oil change. But if you're running just a touch low on oil, it's just like putting a quart of oil into the top instead of going and getting a full oil change just to kind of get you by that for that little bit of time till you can go get that oil changed. It's basically what we're doing here. We're just putting some oil into where the tank goes into the little air hole that you can see. We're going to take some shots. It's going to drive the oil up through the system, make sure everything's lubricated. So I'm going to take an oil, and you only want 1 or 2 drops for this. Make sure that goes into the air source hole. I'm going to put a tank on. We're going to cock the gun. And these guns do need back pressure to fire. So you'll see it happen a lot is if there's no paintball in it or something like that, and you go to shoot, it's just going to rabbit all over the place, and you're going to have to cock it back again. So what we're going to do is I just have a nice heavy rag. I'm going to push against the front of the barrel so it has some back pressure. I'm going to take a couple shots to get that oil cycled. And that's it. That's all you need for basic general maintenance of any Spyder or Spyder-like marker. That goes for the Azotans as well. Piranhas, pretty much anything that's a Spyder clone. Pretty much almost anything that looks like this, except for egos. You don't want to do that same thing to egos. It's a little bit different process. But that's really it. It's really super simple. I just want to kind of get that out there because these things are everywhere. Excuse me. These things are everywhere and they're so popular. And, you know, I just want to make sure people, you know what they're doing, a little more educated. So, if you learned something, great. If you didn't, you know, I can't get them every time, so I apologize. Hopefully the next video will be a little bit better for you. I'm glad you guys stayed with me and watched this, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys next time.